Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Joe Kort. I'm from the Center for Relationship Health in Royal Oak, Michigan. I'm the founder, director, and I'm a therapist there as well. And today we are going to be talking about the secret logic of your sexual fantasies, cracking that erotic code, finding out why whatever turns you on, turns you on. Why do you ask? Why would you want to know this? Many people do. And some of the reasons people come to therapy regarding this is they have a deep level of shame around it. Where did this come from? Why do I have this? And people are so upset about it, they ask for an erotic ectomy. You can't have an erotic ectomy. What you can look forward to is the idea of managing it rather than it managing you. And the way to do that is to understand the secret logic. What's the erotic intelligence behind it, underneath it, the non-sexual narrative? So let me give you an example of a client. These are all made up clients. They're composites, but the idea is all the same and what I want you to learn for yourself. So client may come in and they are struggling with obsessive compulsive behaviors involving oral sex that they like to receive from other people, and they're doing it in a way that feels out of control for them, and they want to stop. They want to understand why they like it the way they like it. As a therapist, okay, so you like to receive oral sex. That really doesn't tell me a lot. Are you having a pleasant exchange with this other person? Is it a power exchange? Is there talking? Are you sitting back being serviced? Are you interacting with this person? So this particular client that I'm thinking about was somebody that enjoyed doing this, getting oral sex, but he wanted to be very much in control. And so he would, grab hold of the head of the other person and thrust into the person's mouth. And his peak erotic moment, the part that turned him on the most, was the few seconds that the person couldn't breathe before he pulled back out. This was very important. As a therapist, trying to help somebody understand their erotic interests, I need to know all these details, and the person has to feel comfortable enough to share these details. So that doesn't tell me anything in and of itself. I also have to know somebody's childhood, somebody's past, their social history, their family history, their religious history, their relationship history. All of that might have connections and actually translate into what's now become erotic. So this particular client came from a family where there was what I call benign neglect. They had food, clothing, shelter. They even paid for his college. He felt loved, but he was never shown love. So he never had the kind of affection. He never had the kind of love that that demonstrated to him physically and overtly. So I said to him, and by the way, when I say this to clients, it may or may not make any sense to someone. It's only when it hits for the client, it clicks for the client. I said, when parents talk about their children, they'll often say they take their breath away. You didn't feel that way about your parents, did you? He said, no, I did not. And I said, okay, so then what we're talking about is you're reconciling this by taking somebody else's breath away in the bedroom. When you're interacting with oral sex, the moments the person can't breathe, those 3 seconds, that is what arouses you because you've taken the person's breath away. You've righted the wrong that happened to you. He started crying. This was very emotional for him, and it meant something to him. So now this informs our work, our therapy work. Now I can work with him about dealing with the neglect that he received as a child. Now, when we think of neglect, we think of, you're not getting fed, you're not getting medical appointments. That's not the kind of neglect we're talking about here. We're talking about benign neglect where the parents weren't attuned to him. He didn't feel them tracking him. He didn't have love demonstrated to him. So he's negotiated that and resolved that in the erotic. And so now he can have erotic compassion for himself. A partner learning this can have erotic empathy for their partner. Now what he can end up learning is now it's no longer going to manage him. He was no longer out of control. He no longer felt a loss of control over these behaviors. He was in control of it because we dealt with the underlying reason which it came from, which was the benign neglect in his family. Let's talk about another couple I saw where the wife found her husband's clips, erotic clips, adult browser history clips, and they all were dominatrix women force-feeding male submissive her dirty underwear. And it was clip after clip after clip like this. And so she felt disgusted and she didn't know this about her husband. And she confronted him when he came home and she thought, gosh, I don't even know him because this is something he's never told me about. And has he been doing this with my underwear? It was a whole thing. They came to therapy in crisis. And during the session, I dealt with her disgust response. It's normal and natural for her to even feel betrayed because she's learning something very intimate that she didn't know. He doesn't know why he didn't share it other than he has an incredible amount of shame and he doesn't know why he likes what he likes. So we do a family history. Again, I feel like I'm working in the dark with clients unless I know exactly what's going on with them from their childhood. And in his childhood, he was punished in a way that he was had hot sauce and bars of soap put into his mouth when he would be punished. And that was the discipline the parents used. And he hated eating something that he didn't like, right? So this was a direct correlation to the clips that he's watching of Dominatrix force feeding something the male sub doesn't like. He started to cry in front of me, in front of his wife. She developed erotic empathy, compassion. So did he for himself. And now they get to negotiate and agree or disagree or find an agreement around whether or not he's going to continue to watch. But what will happen is that fantasy doesn't go away. People think if you learn the intricacies of your fantasies, they'll go away. They don't. Again, you can't give yourself an erotic ectomy, but you can learn to manage it. You can stop it from managing you. And now his work, by the way, this informed his psychotherapy work. So now we dealt with the family and the negative influencing he received. And some of it was a little bit of a trauma from his family disciplining him in a way that was harmful to him, that didn't work for him, that caused him undue shame and pain. So I can't guarantee that when clients come to the office that you're always going to be able to directly connect it to childhood, because not everything is a direct connection. So in my very first podcast, I have a podcast called Smart Sex, Smart Love. And on there, my very first one, we called it The Ropers, because the interviewee was somebody who liked Shibari, which is roping, beautiful knots, tying down consensual women that they had an agreement with. And he said his very first memory of enjoying something like this, tying a knot, was in Boy Scouts. So it's not like it became erotic. It was where he stumbled on it was already erotic. It was something that he found at the time very arousing, allowed him to experience sexual pleasure just by making the knot. And so into adulthood, he was able to use this with women that agreed to be tied down. And sometimes he liked to be tied down. It was the rope that really turned him on. It didn't have any connection to his childhood other than the early discovery that he made. And so what's so important, I'll do more videos like this. I get a lot of requests for this. I call it cracking the erotic code. Some people call it erotic intelligence. Esther Perel, you would know online. She's a very popular psychologist or psychotherapist, and she does sex and relationships, and she's very well known. I really respect her work. She has a great quote. Tell me how you were loved as a child, and I'll tell you how you make love as an adult. And a lot of this comes from early work of somebody named Jack Moran, Michael Bader, Brett Carr. These are early pioneers helping us understand that what happens in childhood can often shape our erotic intelligence. Again, not all of it, but a lot of it. If you're enjoying this and you want to learn more about this, please follow me here on YouTube, subscribe on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook. You can also go to my website, joekort.com. And I've written a book called Erotic Orientation for straight people to understand the underlying issues that shape your sexual fantasies, and for gay men called Cracking the Erotic Code, a guide for gay men to understand their sexual fantasies. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be back and see you next time.